Trike Patrol fans. Once again, we are back. Thank you for tuning into the official Trike Patrol podcast, and it's your host, Mr. C. So everyone is doing really well, as always. So we have a very interesting podcast special for this week. So this week, I'm going to be talking about West Coast travels with your Filipina. Now, I understand this isn't just for Filipinas or some passport bro that went to the Philippines, got a Filipina, and is now looking for places, things to do on the West Coast. This is just in general. As we know, Filipinas, they'll appreciate the smaller things in life. They're not, most of them aren't going to be all about fancy dinners and whatnot. So the fact that earlier this year I decided that I'm going to visit as many states on the West Coast that I can, which I knocked pretty much all of them out. Earlier this year, I was finally able to hit up Seattle, experience that city, did Phoenix. So a lot of places. Did Southern Oregon just last week. So I have a lot of, details and experience to share with all you guys if you guys are looking for things to do, places to see, and just in general, just new places to see. All right, so this is going to be a very interesting podcast special. I'm excited to share all of this info and my experiences with all of you. But before we get into it, let's talk a little bit about content that's dropping here at TP. So by the time you guys hear this, I'm pretty sure Marigold and her epic scene was already dropped again. Right now, I'm still preparing it, but I've already seen it, and it's just amazing. Just probably going to be one of the hottest chicks on TP this year. Previous months and weeks, we had Lena Violet, we had Sexy Love, we had Gab, we had Mina, Hennessy, Snow. So I do want to mention, I don't know if I want to get too far into it, but I do want to say Snow is coming back. So Snow Baza, as I've always talked about throughout this year, we're just having a great year here at TP, guys, and I'm looking at some other scenes that's going to be dropping next year. Just the fact that I know for at least for the next couple years, it's going to be great content just dropping here at TrikePatrol.com. So I'm not going to get too much into the other sites, but we did recently drop the scene of Some Tam. Great scene that dropped on the 8th of September. So great scene. Shout out to our shooter for that. Before that was Nunoy. So again, I'm not going to get too much into the content that's been dropping at all of our sites. MILF Trip, as you guys know, Andy Avalon, and I don't think by the time you guys hear this that all these other scenes are going to be dropped yet. So anyways, let's get into today's podcast special about West Coast travels with your Filipina. So first spot, not really the West Coast, but it's the Southwest. So shout out to Phoenix, shout out to Arizona. It's such a great state. I finally made it out to Arizona, Phoenix to be specific. Now actually, a little deeper into this interview, I will share that was when I was in Vegas. But for Phoenix alone, man, just a great city. Had a lot of fun. This was just, I think, last month that I went to Phoenix. Did 3 nights, so I was able to save some money because I did check into Auction, which is within the Caesars Rewards network. So as I've told you guys many times, when I do go to Vegas or Reno or anywhere, I do use my player's card when I do decide to gamble. And I've made it up to a platinum member. But even if you don't make it that far and lose that much money, you can still get, discounted rates or even free rooms sometimes. So I did stay in Auction, which is about 30 minutes from the airport. So when we took off, our flight was delayed about an hour and a half. Kind of a rough start to the vacation. But overall, it was great. We arrived there. We got there like at 9 or 10, got the rental. So I do want to mention that if you do visit a lot of these major cities or locations out here in America, it's really ideal to get a rental car, or else you're not going to get the full experience of the city. It's not like the Philippines where, even in the Philippines, I'm sure it would be tough to just use public transportation or even just Uber or what do they have, Grab out there. So it's always easier to have a car. And rental cars, I've been renting cars a lot lately, just because when I go somewhere, I want to get the full experience, and it's usually less than $200. That includes insurance. And in gas, it's Jesus Christ. Gas was way cheaper in Arizona compared to California. So that was, I probably spent $30 on a 3-day trip and drove everywhere. So anyways, Auction Casino and Resort, great place. It was nice and clean. They had a nice pool where they had a bar in the middle. But we didn't really stay there too long. We kind of just used that perk and just was able to, stay there for free. But we did. So one thing I want to talk about is the Salt River rafting. Amazing. You're just imagine yourself in a canyon or, in Arizona, and you have these cactuses and all that, and you're just free roaming through the river, and there's wild horses. You could bring a bunch of booze on the trip with you. You could rent a cooler and buy ice for like $5. So it's not that expensive. You could bring your own tube and just pay for the transportation because you'll get downstream and then you have to come all the way back up. But great experience. It'll take 3-4 hours to do the whole trip. So that's kind of a half day thing. So what we did was after that experience, we ended up checking in somewhere else in Phoenix, near Talking Stick Resort, since we did find a concert that was happening at the amphitheater out there. So we ended up getting a hotel, and keep in mind we already had checked in for 3 nights over at Auction, but since it was free, we ended up doing 1 night near the concert, just because we don't have to worry about driving, and we just Ubered. It was like $10, but great place. It was, it's I'll tell you this, it is fucking hot in Phoenix, especially in the summer, and I can see why summer travels is a little bit cheaper in Phoenix. Phoenix is really a place for like winter time, because I myself, even in California, I hate the winter. I'm not a winter person. Growing up in California and in the Philippines, it's like I just don't deal with cold weather well. So I know it doesn't even get all that bad out here in California compared to like the East Coast or even up in the mountains out here in California. But anyways, after the Salt River rafting, I shared that we went to the concert and whatnot. But also, there's this place called Fry Bread House. Great place. It's your Native American style tacos, I guess you want to call it. They fry the bread. They throw whatever you want, whatever kind of meat. So great place. It's really well known. It was on what's the show? Anyways, with Guy Fieri, Dinners, Divers, and whatever it is. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could remember. Right? I should have searched it. But anyways, it was on the show with Guy Fieri. So well known. Great food. It's like $10 a taco, but 1 taco is more than enough. You won't even finish it. But that's a must check out. I really wish they would do Native American tacos like all out throughout California, because I'm pretty sure it would sell. But anyways, great place, great food, not that badly priced. And so after the concert, we went back to the hotel, and well, now we have about 8 hours to kill, because another thing that we're going to do, I wanted to make sure that we did, is that we visited the Diamondback Stadium, Chase Stadium, since, hardcore baseball fan. I've always wanted to visit all the ballparks here in America, and the Diamondback Stadium, I remember probably it was like the mid 90s or late 90s that it was built, and it still looks great. But anyways, we had time to kill, so we looked for stuff to do. Found this Wildlife World Zoo. It's actually kind of expensive. I think you spent like $150 for like 3 people. But anyways, huge zoo. The only thing is, we had it to ourselves pretty much. I swear, there was nobody else there. And well, nobody goes to zoos, outdoor zoos, in 118-degree weather. But I wasn't really thinking. But yeah, the heat. I'll tell you this. The heat in Phoenix will really take the energy out of you. It's no joke. So there's a reason why a lot of people don't go to Phoenix in the summer. But we lived. It was okay. But yeah, huge zoo. If you like zoos, it was something to do to kill time. But we were just pooped out after that. But then we went straight to downtown Phoenix, where we were able to finally watch a Diamondbacks game. They were playing the Padres, and great stadium, beautiful stadium. Totally enjoyed it. So great vacation spot. I highly recommend Phoenix. Every hotel, every resort is gonna have a pool. I highly recommend actually doing Scottsdale. That's where you can check into the nicer resorts. So they'll probably run you like in the summertime, probably like $200 to $300 a night. But in the wintertime, it'll be a lot more expensive, because people, like I said, are trying to escape the winter months here in the States elsewhere. So again, shout out to Phoenix, loved it. Shout out to Arizona, completely loved the state, great state. Would totally go there again. I would actually love to book another trip out there for October. So Vegas, I know I've done a podcast special like California with your Pinay, Vegas with your Pinay. So Vegas, I'm not going to get too much into it. However, a lot of people have been talking about Vegas all over Instagram, all over social media. What's going on in Vegas? Well, the prices are just out of hand. The slots are way tighter. Now, they say that there's no such thing, but anyways, I don't know. So early July, I want to say it was right before, or I think it was a week after 4th of July. It was like a Thursday. I'm like, you know what? I want to go to Vegas. Literally. And looked at the flights. It would have cost like $1,500 to fly out there. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just rent a car. Just because I don't really want to put too much miles on my car, because it's like a 9-hour drive. But I was able to rent a truck, because I guess somebody wanted a truck at the time for like $80. So it's super cheap, but I ended up spending like 500, 600 on gas. So yeah, that's where I got kind of screwed. But anyways, so yeah, the next day I picked it up Saturday morning, 7 a.m. Probably even earlier than that. Drove out to Vegas. I mean, the only problem with this trip is we were already starting to feel a little sick. We get to Vegas and we're just like, okay, we're sick. So we're still drinking, we're still gambling, we're still tired because we just got off the road after 8-9 hours of driving, and kind of screwed up vacation plan just because everyone was sick. But my thoughts on Vegas, yeah, the prices are just insane. I can only imagine people that actually have to pay for hotels, because again, this goes back to being a Caesars rewards player, because I mean, I could go to Vegas anytime, free room. They'll even hook me up with an upgraded room, a suite, which I used a lot last year, especially when I did the Pinay Eats. If you guys remember when I did Pinay Eats with Dakota Quinn and Carmen Valentina, so that really helped out, But yeah, just kind of just screwed up because again, down 3,000, sick as fuck, couldn't really enjoy it. And then we decided to go check out the Grand Canyon West. So I really highly recommend checking out the Grand Canyon West. You get a taste of the Grand Canyon. So this part of the Grand Canyon is actually owned by this specific Indian tribe. They actually own it, they run it, and they have like these buses that will take you around to each spot. But again, 115 degree weather, we're sick, so it kind of messed up the whole trip. But I highly recommend it. And then there's the Skywalk. You pay a little bit more, which we did. And I just wanted to get off right away. I'm just, I'm not feeling good. I'm looking down, and it's like, we're talking, I don't know, maybe 15, 20,000 feet. Maybe not, I don't know, maybe 10,000 feet. Anyways, high as fuck. You can see through. Like I said, it's a skywalk. So, yeah, I just being sick and, in hot-ass desert weather just kind of messed up everything. But I highly recommend checking it out. If you want to stay away from, I mean, it really all depends on what you do at Vegas. If you have a gambling addiction, right now is probably not the best time to go. You don't see anybody winning. But yeah, Vegas is Vegas. It'll always be there. Who knows? Things might change. For a single meal, you'll spend like $50 easily. So if you and your chick are gonna go eat out, even if it's not fine dining, obviously it's not fine dining, you can still spend $100. So yeah, it's just crazy. I always recommend going to Miracle Shops if you want to eat some decent food for a decent price. Go to the ABC store, get your water there, get some Truly, get some, you get your vapes there, you get your cigarettes there for a good price. So that's Vegas now. So let's head over back to California. San Diego. I know I've done San Diego, LA, San Francisco already, but San Diego, go to Bahia, Mission Bay. Epic. It's a little cheaper, probably in spring, but it's not going to be as warm, so the water's going to be a little cold. But Mission Bay is where all the resorts are. They have their private beaches. So again, we stayed at Bahia. I think this was like March when we went. So you couldn't really swim, but we had a private beach. Cabana. So we just brought some drinks from the outside and just kind of got drunk on the beach. You can't beat that, right? Of course, the main attractions out there is the San Diego Zoo, SeaWorld, Petco Park. Now, your Filipina, she might not be the biggest fan of baseball. However, I highly recommend getting a general admission ticket, because in the outfield, they have this huge screen where, you got the kids running around. You can kind of just get a blanket or whatever, get your banig, if you know what I'm talking about. If you know, lay it down. You kind of just watch the game on that big-ass TV. There's food around. There's, just a great time. Just you're in a good atmosphere. So that's San Diego. Now, back to LA. You got the Anaheim Angels. You got the LA Dodgers, you got the LA Kings, you got the Anaheim Ducks. So I like to check out new hockey games or hockey stadiums whenever I can. So 2 years ago, we finally went to the Ducks game. That was pretty cool. They were playing the Montreal Canadiens, so that was a fun thing to experience. We went to the Angel Stadium just earlier this year, actually. They were playing the A's. So we traveled out there just to support our athletics. What was this, last year? I think it was last year. Last year actually. Damn, time flies. But of course, the obvious other things to do is Universal, Disneyland. Now, if it's just you and your Pinay, I highly recommend checking out Universal Studios. It's, a lot of people are gonna find you to be really weird. If you two adults are going to Disneyland, I get it. Maybe she's never been to Disneyland, and it's something to cross off the list. Who cares what people say? People are gonna judge you no matter what. But Universal Studios makes a lot more sense. And for Filipino food, I've said it many times on this podcast, dollar hits. I've been wanting to take a Filipina out there for Pinay Eats just because it's super popular. And I do wonder if things are still a dollar, with inflation and all that. I would be super surprised if things were still a dollar. Another obvious thing to do, Hollywood Walk of Fame. You could spend a good 1 hour just walking up and down, getting something to eat. There's a mall there. You can do some shopping, and just being in the atmosphere is pretty cool. And obviously, there's beaches all over because you're in SoCal. So you got the Santa Monica Pier, Ventura. So a lot of great things to do in LA. Sure, if you looked into it, there's going to be way more other things to do. Actually, SoCal for hotels are actually pretty pricey. And be careful because, you don't want to end up in the hood. So do your research. My rule of thumb is always 8.0 or higher on Expedia. Anything below 8, and I read the comments because, I'd say I travel a lot locally or within, the West Coast, which I've been doing a lot recently. So yeah, just be careful. Make sure you know where you're going. Make sure you know where you're staying. Read the comments, read the feedback, read the ratings. Okay, so let's go a little bit up north to Pismo Beach. You got the pier, great place. You can spend 30, 45 minutes just walking up and down, checking things out. There's a bunch of stores. A nice thing about Pismo Beach too, you can drive on the beach with your car. Just be careful. Stay as far away from the water as you can. You don't want to get stuck. You don't want the water to come in and get you. There's this really popular place to get clam chowder. Go to Splash Cafe. That's where we went. We got a couple of those. Went back to the beach. Just kind of hung out. Had some wine on the beach. But I think you got to hide. I don't think they allow alcohol. Yeah, just sunset, wine on the beach. You can't beat it, right? So that's Pismo Beach. Although, be careful. Hotels are very, very pricey out there. We were able to rent like an apartment, which was probably like $600 for like 3 nights. So it wasn't too bad. And this was in October. I think it was 2 years ago that we went. All right, so let's go a little bit up north. I'm going to keep Monterey out this time. I think I talked about Monterey last time. Great little town. They got probably the best aquarium in the world. But anyways, to the SF Bay Area. Now this is interesting, right? So in the SF Bay Area, I highly recommend checking out Alcatraz. As you guys know, I think the current administration has been trying to buy it to put illegals, but obviously that's not going to happen. I've watched it on the news many times, local news, international news, national news. It's not going to happen, but as you guys know, there's a lot of history behind this island. A lot of movies have been shot there. The Rock, for one, with Nicolas Cage. Great got You got Chinatown. It's a good place to get a lot of souvenirs. If you're visiting San Francisco and you're not actually from San Francisco, that you got your San Francisco souvenirs, cheap price. Obviously, it's Chinatown. A lot of authentic Chinese food, so that's one thing to visit. And of course, there's Golden Gate. There's a lot of places where you can park and get nice pictures, and these are things that I would do if I had family coming, or when I do have family coming from the Philippines. These are places I take them. So yeah, Golden Gate. Of course, you want to get that picture for Facebook, right? With the Golden Gate in the background. And if you're feeling a little kinky, there's a new beach, Baker Beach. Although be aware, it's gonna be a lot of old people that are nude on the beach. If you're thinking you're gonna go there to see some stunning nude blondes, it's most likely not gonna be the case. So just be aware, it's gonna be a lot of old people that are naked. One thing to do is Academy of Art and Sciences. Great exhibit. You could easily spend 3 hours, and it's like about $50 a person, so it's not too expensive. So that's SF Bay Area. Now, Mammoth Lakes. Finally made it out to Mammoth Lakes, I want to say 1.5 2 years ago. Great. I mean, it is America's playground, outdoor playground. I mean, it's just beautiful. Forests, lakes, a lot of shit to see. You can rent bikes. I highly recommend doing that. They have little buses going around where you can put your bike on and, take you wherever you want to go. You could camp out there. And I want to say this is the one place in America where you could literally park on the side and set up camp. So that's pretty cool. And then there's a gondola. It's a little pricey. We did it. It's about $80 a head. It takes you all the way up. It's about a 15-minute one-way trip all the way to the top. And if you're scared of heights, just don't look down, because the last 10 minutes, you're pretty high up there. But when you finally get up to the top, it's just stunning. You see all the lakes around. You can see the Sierra Nevadas. Amazing views. So if you're a person that likes to take pictures, this is going to be the thing for you. Another place in California I would highly recommend, and not a lot of people know about this place, and not a lot of people talk about it, but it's Pinecrest. A beautiful lake. You got the mountains surrounding the lake for a good price. You can rent kayaks. I was just out there, I want to say Memorial Day weekend, or was it 4th of July weekend? But yeah, it gets really, really packed during the holiday season, or I'm sorry, during the holiday weekends. The boat rentals is probably like $40 an hour, which isn't bad. Kayak, I think I was able to rent one for like $20 an hour. A lot of good trout fishing, bass fishing. I think there's catfish fishing as well. Many cabins in that area, and a lot of motels for decent price. It's about 30 minutes away from Sonora, California, which is actually pretty close to Yosemite. Actually, I wish I would have added Yosemite to this list, but this is around the same area, so yeah. So another place in California, Eureka, California. True story. I was on Instagram and I found this place called Sequoia Park Zoo, where you literally just walk around on these forgot what you call it, but it's in like the forest. It's elevated, and it looked really good on Instagram. A lot of people were making reels of it, and as you guys know, I spend a lot of time on Instagram, a little more time than I should, but I decided to make a trip. And this was Memorial Day. No, this wasn't Memorial. It was I think it was Veterans Day, or was it? It was Labor Day of 2023. It was like 2 days before, so a lot of hotels were sold out. And I found this place with like a 7.2 rating on Expedia. And I said, it's about $450 for 2 nights. I'm like, 7.2, and what was it? A super. That was what was it called? Something 6. But I found out when I got there that it's pretty much just the suite version of Motel 6. So I'm like, oh, fuck. I get there, just people are kind of like chilling outside. I'm like, it's like 10 o'clock too. I had to park my car. People were drinking. I'm like, man, I hope I don't wake up to like beer bottles smashing my window, fucking up my car. But I remember when we got there, we saw Winco, and we said, we do have a little spot we can cook at in the suite. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So let's go buy some shit. So we saw Winco, and my Filipina said to me when we were in there walking around, like, everyone looks kind of either high or drunk. You could just tell, like, the vibes was different. People did not seem very happy. And after further research, I found out that Eureka, California is probably the top 10 with the most crime in California. So I'm like, at least we got out alive. But the drive up there was beautiful. You go through the Mendocino, Humboldt County. Just amazing. But on the way back, I got a ticket for going 87 on 65. So that kind of sucked. But overall, would I do it again? Probably not. And there's also, it's on the coast. Because you would think, like in California, any coastal city is usually very expensive and, higher end. So I wasn't expecting, Eureka, California to be a little bit rough. Not judging people, but, if you go to YouTube, search Eureka, California, or even just search crime rate in Eureka, California, you'll see that I'm not just judging people or judging the place. You just got homeless people walking all around, and yeah, but anyways, would I recommend it to anyone? I'd recommend going to the Sequoia Park Zoo, yeah. You'll be done like in an hour. Price isn't too bad, but yeah, the zoo is pretty cool. All right, so Southern Oregon. Heading up there from the Bay Area or LA, I want to say it's about 5.5 hours. We stayed at Callahan's Mountain Lodge, which was pretty cool because for the last couple of years I've been looking into like the Pacific Coast Trail. For those of you who don't know about this trail, it's the one that a lot of people start in about April. They start at the Mexican-American border, and they literally hike all the way up to the Canadian border. And I've always told myself one day I want to try it, but as you know, like I said, it's 6 months, so you got to have everything paid off for 6 months, have some money saved. But the beauty of it is a lot of these hikers actually stop at this hotel. Nice hotel, beautiful. Shout out to Sean, the bartender. He was amazing. But he was telling me, the bartender was telling me, a lot of these hikers, they stop here at Callahan's. This is kind of a mark point where they'll stop and they'll have a beer. And I remember 2 gentlemen came up to the bar, and I thought they just got off of work or something because they looked a little banged up, and well, they shared that they're actually on the journey, and they had just arrived in Oregon the night before. So I remember the dude, when he took his first sip of beer, you could tell he was enjoying it. I'm like, huh, what's up with this guy? And I guess he probably was waiting for that sip of beer for months or weeks or whatever. But yeah, Pacific Coast Trail, I would love to do that one day, but So there's also Crater Lake, and I must say, Southern Oregon, I didn't expect it to be much, but I mean, it's just beautiful. It's stunning. I highly recommend it. Take your Filipina out there, and I promise you, she'll love what she sees. Just a great place. But Crater Lake, this was this most recent holiday, which was Labor Day, so it was really packed. Couldn't really park anywhere, so we kind of just drove around the lake and took some pictures and didn't get to do much. But yeah. So, Seattle. Very interesting place. Went there back in April for a 3-night vacation. We stayed at the Mayflower Park Hotel. We were able to get a rental at the hotel. At the airport. Which, like I said, if you really want to experience a place out here in the States, get a rental. So we stayed at the Mayflower Park Hotel. And it's funny because this is actually a pretty nice hotel. I mean, staff was great. They told us to stay away from 4th Street, which is where I decided to save like $100 on parking. So I parked there through Spot Hero. And as we parked the car, we had our luggages, everything. We were walking to the hotel, and you could just tell it's a banged up place. I mean, Seattle's got problems. I'll just put it out there, like most major cities does. And it reminds me a lot of San Francisco. Just homeless everywhere. My Filipina saw her first person ever smoking crack. So I mean, shit. Yeah, broad daylight. People are just smoking crack, and I mean, I wasn't born yesterday. I know what a fucking glass pipe is, and if you're putting a flame on it, I know what the fuck you're doing. So yeah, be careful. It's not somewhere where you should be walking at night. Other than that, I highly recommend taking the ferry, where you literally you park your car on the ferry and it'll take you to Bainbridge Island. We did that, and I was surprised how fast everything went. They start letting everyone on. Within 10 minutes, you guys are off to the island, and you can get out of your car. They serve drinks upstairs, serve snacks. So great experience. The Bainbridge Island itself was cool. We just drove around for like an hour just looking for stuff. We're just exploring. Pike's Place. It's Pike's Place. It's a must. I mean, come on. I do want to mention I spent like $300 on just parking. Everywhere you stop, you got to pay for parking in Seattle. It was a very, very expensive vacation. Did we feel like we had any rest? Nope. And here's the thing. I mean, on vacation, you shouldn't for the most part, you shouldn't come back relaxed. Because I feel like you didn't get the full experience. I mean, unless you're like going to Hawaii and you're just chilling most of the time. But we're moving constantly 24/7, 15,000 steps a day, just seeing as much as we can in the 3 days we were there. But yeah, Pike's Place, must. You got to see the dudes throwing the fish. Now, for the first ever Starbucks, we got there. It's going to take like 2 hours or maybe an hour to get a drink. But what we did was, since it was only like 11 minutes away, we woke up at like 7 and we're like, well, we need coffee, right? Let's go walk over to the first Starbucks. No line. We were able to buy like the coffee beans that's exclusively made there or sold there for like $7 a bag. So good price on that. So I highly recommend checking out early in the morning. Now, another thing to do that we did do is the aquarium. Like I said, Monterey, California, best aquarium in the world. You go to the one here in Seattle, nothing. You're done like in an hour. Nothing compared to the other aquariums I've been to. So I mean, but it's something to do, right? Now for the Chihuly museum, I regret going there, and I'm being completely honest. Yeah, it's great art. A little pricey. I think it's like $50 a person, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but it wasn't cheap. And we were done like in 15 minutes, literally. We even took our time walking, checking everything out, taking pictures, but was it worth it? I wouldn't say. I'd rather would have spent that $150 doing something else, And they do have like the Amazon stores where you can go there, and if you have your Amazon membership, you just pick stuff up, and it already knows what you're getting. It's so that was cool experience. But there's a lot of coffee shops. I think on like the second lunch, we ended up just going to a seafood city nearby. I think it was in Tacoma, if I'm not mistaken. There's a seafood city in Jollibee, so we ended up just having Filipino food just because it was a very expensive trip, and that was domestic too. But last but not least, Vancouver, BC, great city. I don't remember much because when I went out there, we had family bringing us out to a meal every time. You know, the different families would invite us for dinner, and we'd go out to nice restaurants. So, but other than that, everyone seemed really nice. We were all surprised how, you know, like we took some public transportation, people would say hello, and just more friendlier overall. Not something you see like in California. But there was this one mountain that we took a gondola up to, and at the top you got these grizzly bears, and pretty cool to see. Downtown Canada was pretty cool. Maple shit everywhere. Maple cookies everywhere you go. They're selling maple cookies. So we bought a bunch of that for pasalubongs to people. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast special. If you're looking for something to do with your Filipina, these are some options on the West Coast. Hopefully one day, hopefully next year, I can make an East Coast trip and share some of my knowledge with all you guys. So thank you for tuning into the official Trike Patrol podcast. And it's your host, Mr. C.